Hey y'all, Andriatic here again. So today I decided I wanted to do a commentary type video, which is a little different than the things I normally do. I want to get more used to using my voice, that way I can redo the guides that I've already made. And I also kind of just wanted to talk about Mercy and talk about some things that I'd like to see added to the game. For this video, I decided I'd do some more quality of life changes that I'd like to see added to Mercy's kit, or at least things that I'd like to suggest that make the gameplay smoother. Quick disclaimer about this is a quality of life change is not a flat out buff or a nerf. It's simply just a change that would make gameplay a little smoother and more enjoyable. None of these will be major buffs or nerfs because frankly I think Mercy balance wise is one of the most balanced heroes in the game. This is my opinion, you know, some people may not agree with that. I don't want her to become hard meta or a throw pick though, which she isn't one of those currently. But enough of that, let's get right into the video. So the first quality of life change I'd like to see is a GA interaction. I think most Mercy players would agree that it'd be a nice change if you could target Guardian Angel to a Moira while she's in Fade and a Mei while she's in Cryo freeze. In regards to Mei, Mercy actually used to be able to fly to Mei when she was in Cryo, but recently they made changes to Mei's Cryo so that it acted more like her wall basically. You can't heal or boost of course, and you can't Guardian Angel her while she's in her ice block. I personally don't really understand the point of this. I do think it would make sense to let Mercy fly to Mei and Cryo again. It doesn't usually get in the way too much, but it is kind of annoying, so why not just put it back in the game. As for Moira, on the other hand, you know, if I'm being completely honest, I understand why she's not a viable Guardian Angel target when she uses Fade, but it feels absolutely horrible to get screwed over by your second support. It's not too noticeable most of the time, but it's definitely annoying when you press Guardian Angel right when she press Fades. So I think adding, you know, this kind of interaction would just make gameplay a little bit smoother when you're playing with a Moira. So, moving on to the next change, this is actually not even a quality of life change for Mercy herself, but one for Sombra, but, you know, it includes Mercy, so I'm coming up with it in this video. So while in Valkyrie, as, you know, you all should know, Mercy's beams split into chains. Anyone around the ally she's currently healing or boosting will get healed or boosted by the chain beams. Now, I think it would make sense for those chain beams not to attach to a Sombra while she's invisible, since you don't want to give away her position. Now, it doesn't fully give away her position, the beam kind of just like fades off, and if I'm being honest, in reality, most of the time a Sombra is not sitting invisible in the middle of your team while you're using Valkyrie, but it just makes sense for them not to attach. I mean, other than that, I'll admit this change is pretty useless. I mean, the only time it might really make an effect is if you're using Valk and Sombra wants to get behind the enemy team and she's walking past someone, but other than that, it's super situational. I do want to add though that when I'm talking about this change, I'm only talking about the chain beams and not the primary beam. This is because I just don't think it would make sense, you know, to not be able to heal Sombra at all. You know, we have all had times where we've healed a Sombra while she's invisible, just like sitting in our backline, like, you know, so she doesn't have to go to a health kit. It wouldn't be fair to her if she had to waste her entire cooldown just so you could heal her. So my third suggestion is the ability to manually cancel Res and Valk. This has been suggested by the community a couple times, so I figured I'd add it to the video. Resurrect's pretty self-explanatory. If you think about it, Overwatch is a pretty fast game, safe reses instantly become dangerous out of nowhere, Widow peeks a corner, Sombra's invisible right next to you, you never know. You know, they all feel horrible to die against when you think a res is completely safe. If you are going to manually cancel your res, I do think it would make sense if there's some sort of cooldown reduction or, you know, maybe half the cooldown. That way it doesn't feel so punishing when you do cancel a res on purpose. And just something I want to note real quick is I would assume that to cancel the ability, as most other abilities such as deflect and stuff like that, you just press the button again to cancel it. Now, this isn't really a big deal, but I am a console player, and on console, Angelic Descent and Resurrect are the same button, and I feel like that could really screw up super jump reses. And no, I'm not really that concerned about the super jump reses, but Angelic Descent is a big part of resurrecting, whether it's off a ledge or something like that, so that would definitely get annoying. So I don't know, maybe that would actually get pretty annoying now that I'm thinking about it. Maybe you could turn on and off whether or not you could cancel abilities in the settings. I mean, you could always change your button bindings, but you really shouldn't have to. Now, as for Valkyrie, let's be real, we've all had some Valks that seem really good, you know, the first 5 seconds, you get some really good mass damage boost and it's a team wipe, and then all of a sudden you have 10 seconds left in your Valk to just sit there. I think it must make sense for you to be able to cancel Valk just because it's such a long ultimate, This would also allow you to start generating Valkyries faster. Most good Mercies will usually damage boost out their entire Valk, or at least the very end of it after you've won a fight. That way you can generate ult charge when the Valkyrie is over with healing. Now, if you can cancel it, you can do this even sooner. I don't think this would make a huge difference in terms of how often a Mercy gets Valkyrie, to be honest, but it would just be a nice quality of life change to be able to cancel it in general. I mean, mistimed Valks are pretty noticeable, and it kinda sucks. So my next suggestion is actually a Mercy bug that I want to see removed. Now, this is also the only thing on the list that is exclusive to console. Since I do play on both PC and console, I've been able to discover a bug that is unique to console and that does not exist on PC. I don't play on Switch unfortunately though, so sorry to Switch players, you can test this out for yourself. As most of y'all should know, when using Valkyrie, if you hold your jump binding you'll ascend, and if you hold your crouch binding you'll descend. However, on console, there's a bug specifically that prevents Mercy from descending properly if you move left or right while trying to descend. For some reason, this only affects descending, as you can see here, if you try to ascend, it just moves normally. I also would like to note that this bug only takes effect if you're moving left or right. Mercy can descend properly moving forwards or backwards. I decided to do some tests to see if I could bypass this bug at all, and so I tried crouch spamming while moving left and right, and honestly this didn't really do much. It just makes it feel even more clunky, to be honest. One of the things that I did discover though while testing this bug is that I found out that it's very inconsistent. It doesn't happen 100% of the time, which makes it kind of annoying because you can't really trust your own Valk movement sometimes. Now, visually you can't really tell that much of a difference from first person. However, when you're actually playing Mercy, you can tell a huge difference between this and proper Valkyrie movement. Now, as I mentioned before, I play both on PC and console, and one of my favorite things about playing on PC is the fact that the Valkyrie movement is so much smoother and so much more fluid. If anything in this video were to make it into the actual game, this would be the one that I want. The next quality of life change that I would like to suggest is a combination of Prefer Beam On and Prefer Beam Off. This is something that's been widely discussed by the community, so I definitely wanted to put this in this video. For me personally, it's been pretty hard for me to choose which one I want to use. Back in the old Mass Res days, I used Prefer Beam Off, and then when Valkyrie came about, when Mercy was reworked, I switched to Prefer Beam On, and only recently switched back to Prefer Beam Off. So I have a lot of experience with both settings, and I really enjoy them both. I think both have really good advantages, and they have some disadvantages too. Since I used Prefer Beam On for so long, I still stand by it being a great setting, despite the fact that others will call it complete garbage. But anyways, I'd love to see a combination of the two. That way, being the greedy Mercy main that I am, I can reap the benefits of both. Now, a lot of people would ask how this would work, and it's pretty simple. Basically, by default, it's like Prefer Beam Off. You'll have the freedom to move however you want and fly to whoever you want. However, if you have no valid GA targets and LOS, or that you're not facing, your Guardian Angel will function as if you had Prefer Beam On. It essentially would look something like this. I think this would be really fun to play with. I love the Beam Uptime Off provides, but the mobility Beam On provides is something I greatly miss, so I would definitely love to see a hybrid of the two. So, the final thing I want to discuss is something that's pretty minor, and that's why I decided to put it last, is the removal of the beam disconnect when activating Valkyrie. Now, I understand why it's in here. Valkyrie is a transformation ultimate after all, and transformation ultimates do have a cast animation almost, and that's exactly what Valkyrie does, is your beam disconnects while you're in the middle of the quote-unquote transformation. To be honest, this wouldn't make a huge difference, and it's really not that big of a deal, but it does feel pretty awful in that one situation when your other support is dead and you're healing someone and you're too afraid to Valk just because breaking the beam will probably get them killed. It kind of defeats the purpose in that situation if you think about it, because you would be Valking specifically for the healing buff that Valkyrie provides. If this were to make it into the game, I wonder how the animation would be affected. I mean, the staff completely disappears from the screen when you activate Valkyrie, unlike Resurrect for example, where the staff just moves a little bit lower down to your right. Speaking of Resurrect, maybe this is a change that's better suited for Res as opposed to Valkyrie. I mean, it definitely would be a nice quality of life change to Resurrect if we could heal and damage boost throughout it, especially if your second support is the one that you're bringing back. Well, that's everything from me for today. Let me know what you think and if you'd like to see any of these in game, and let me know if you like these type of commentary videos. I definitely wouldn't mind making more, especially on other supports. I mean, despite the fact I'm a Mercy on a 2-trick, but, you know, if you enjoy them, I'll definitely make them. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.